Thank you, everybody, and welcome to today's meeting of Council in December 2025. We have had the Council prayer this morning on Council other workshops, so that's dealt with, and I have no apologies. Everybody is present, and I've received no advance notice of public forum. That moves us to item number 4. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest with regard to today's meeting? No, but you can certainly bring it up again if something rises. The confirmation of order of business will be as retained. Item 5, item 6, the confirmation minutes looking for alterations and corrections, page 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. I don't know there, would somebody like to please move the confirmation of minutes? Thank you, Councillor Wong moving, looking for a second to that. Councillor Wilson seconding. Those in favour. Those against, please carried. Moving to, still making rapid progress here. Moving to item 7, the Mayor's report, starting on page 19. I will take it as read, but one of the things I'd like to do is publicly acknowledge the New Zealand Women's Drafting Champions, world champions. It hasn't received a lot of publicity that I'm aware of, but if somebody would like to know more, can tell us a little bit more about it. Anybody up in the room? So ideally, we welcome back those people that are New Zealand residents.
I think it's the people from Mangaweka.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Ames is involvement.
Yeah, but that's always nice. So certainly take any of my meetings question there, and my report in the order paper. Just highlight things like changes to regional councils. We actually don't know how this is going to play out. Literally, this is a case that the government has suddenly made a decision to say that regional councillors may not serve their full term of office, and that the responsibility will pass to, inverted commas, the mayors for governorship. Until we receive more information around that, it's difficult to comment further. But I would say we presume that all of the functions of the regional council will continue as in some shape or form. Equally, there are a huge number of changes that are signalled from the government of the day. But I'm happy to take any questions or any questions around meetings that I may have had. Councillor Sharla.
Just through the chair to Mr. Bernardi, has the geotech assessment report been received about the southern end of the pool by the Toot Stream yet?
Through you, Your Worship, yes, we received both. So we had the original geotech done, and then there was the additional. I did report back on that just as a summary that there were 3 options. One was about $80,000. The others are a lot more expensive, and our strategy would be to keep a very close eye on that embankment. And if it does seem to be getting worse, we will apply the $80,000 to it at that time.
I'm not quite sure whether that was in my report rather than the assets updates, but that's fine.
We, if I may suggest, as a follow-up action, I can add that to the Big Tin Can so everybody can have access to it.
Okay. Good. Councillor Targetti.
Page 20, item 6, where you refer to the 2.4% range in CPI. I'm just any note about the roading cost increases. Just wondering, for the benefit of the public, what sort of percentage is? I personally am a little bit frustrated when I see the Prime Minister and other people quoting these CPI figures, but as we well know, it's different for different sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that you've raised it, and I've tried to sort of illustrate this. So the cost of roading has increased quite dramatically over the last few years. And the inflationary cost of building and maintaining roads is probably sitting somewhere annually between 7 and 10% over the last 3 years. It's in that sort of range, and I haven't got the documentation to illustrate that, but I could provide it, search for it for a greater explanation. So that cost to councils is far greater than the CPI. And as to the proportion of our budgets that are spent on roading, it varies, especially within a very significant capital growth period, etc. But it's fair to say that it's probably historically been sitting at maybe 35 to 40% of our budgets in many years. So it's incredibly significant. And that 2 to 4% range that the government are talking about under rates pegging, it appears as though not all functions of council will be captured by that rates pegging process. So I think I am correct, and please staff correct me if I'm wrong, but the costs associated with Three Waters components are exempt from that rate pegging process. But those costs still sit there. So they would sit above that benchmark and lift the average, if you like, of rate increases. So understanding where the government is at with regard to this, and I understand housing for the larger councils is also exempt from the rates pegging because it's something that government wants to see happen. But let's wait until the bill.
I was just going to say, Your Worship, there has been a webinar set up by DIA for the elected members, so I encourage you all to take your questions to that forum as well, because no, next week. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just come out today that they're having that. So,
And of course, we've just had the RMA formally signalled, even though we knew for some time that there would be 2 major changes within the RMA. So the current RMA will be removed, replaced by 2 different acts. Well,
Heather, I'd just like to acknowledge staff's involvement in the Martin Day. And I thought it was a fantastic day with lots of people from out of town, and particularly like to thank Kim Schumann for her making it all happen.
yeah, quite appropriate.
Yeah.
Do you want me to formally add that to my mayor's report as a
I think that,
thanks to the chief executive?
whatever you'd like to do, your worship.
we've noted that. Katrina, pass
Thank
that
you.
on. Thank you.
Anything further, councillor Wong?
Just to comment about the Dudding Lake tornadoes. Your pictures are very descriptive. And I thought you and the staff and chief executive did a very good job. Unfortunately, the Dudding Lake seems to be in the Manawatu according to all the media.
Yeah, and that continued no matter how many times I raised this
Yeah.
issue with the press. If there's bad news or good news, it depends where it lies within the rangatira. Often if it's bad news, but we're constantly referred to as being in the Manawatu, and I think that's disappointing.
But they got the mayor right, so enough there.
In terms of the photographs, I thank Mr. Bruce Gordon for providing me with the photos. And they very clearly illustrate the destruction, and he was certainly out there helping restore, thanks to our chief executive also, the prompt action to try and get the place back in place for the Christmas trade. Right, so congratulations, Cal. Anything else?
Looking to move, Your Worship.
Thank you. And I'd be prepared to second my own report. Put us to vote, those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Move to item number 8, the chief executive's report.
Secondary,
Recommendation.
secondary
Sorry.
recommendation for our report.
I'm not just to force your worship, it hasn't pulled through to our
Yes.
minutes.
Sorry, I was reading off the main sheet in front of me. Have you got it there?
We will.
Appreciation of local traditions.
Apologies for that, your worship.
No, that's no problem. So recommendation 2 is that in appreciation of the honourable traditions of the Second Workshop Company and recognition of its long and intimate association within the borough of Taiape, council confer upon the Second Workshop Company the rights, privilege and honour of marching through the streets of Taiape on all ceremonial occasions with bayonets fixed, drums beating and colours flying, and that the corporate seal will be affixed to the necessary deed of grant and the name of the Second Workshop Company be inscribed on a panel in the town hall. I'm prepared to move that, or would somebody like from the Taiape area like to move?
Can I ask a question before we move? I would like to move it. The times have changed from being a borough of Taiape to being.
1989.
So,
Council reorganisation.
technically, how would the wording be?
We will deal with that. It would be in the name of the Rangitikei District Council.
Right,
At some stage, it has to be updated as such.
I am just old enough to remember when they marched through Taiape. Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I will move.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great tradition. I went to one of these in Dannevirke, and the retiring mayor of Taurua invited all of the region's mayors to attend. We're in their chains of office, which is really, really unusual to take your chain of office outside your own district. But it was at his request, and virtually everybody attended, and yeah, a fabulous piece of history and tradition. Any questions around this before we move? Councillor Picture,
No, I was just going to second the motion, unless it hadn't been seconded.
looking for somebody to move first. Councillor Lawrence moving, you're looking to second. You wish to speak to it?
No, yeah, just a piece, so thank you.
Any speakers at all? Otherwise, put it to vote. Put it to vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Moving to item 8, the Chief Executive's report. Just before I pass, Carol, could we please receive the report? Councillor Dalgety moving, Councillor Field seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Carol.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just step through the report as it's listed in the order paper, so as we normally do. So events held across the district, as you can see, it's the time of the year where we have a lot more happening, which is great. Staff movements. The health, safety and wellbeing dashboard, you'll note there was one notifiable incident on that dashboard, and that's the sand. So we had to notify it to WorkSafe, and you will receive the outcome this week that there was no asbestos found in any of the locations or the sand, which was good news. Just moving through submissions, as you all know, there are a large number coming through to us now, so staff are very much in a prioritising view with these and making sure that we really get comment on the essential ones. There's also a number that we will have shared responses both across the Horizons region, but with neighbouring councils as well, where it impacts all of us, which is a really good approach.
You could be a little bit cynical in your comments here, but it appears that a whole lot of the stuff is being released over the Christmas January period, which makes it very difficult for councils and for the general public to be able to respond.
And also note that there's been a large number of webinars on exactly all these over the next 2 weeks, just so we can enjoy that for Christmas, which is great. Local water done well. There's a brief update there, and we've got the team in the room today to move to the next stage of that. So I'll leave that there unless there's any more questions on that one.
Councillor Wong.
Can I just make a comment? The wreaths for our Mr. Stay were very well received and Tai happy and had lots of positive comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the sent-off domain. I had a couple of questions on this as follow-ups, which I'll just answer. So some of the so while the work was started in 2023, the payments had been made throughout 2024 for those amounts that you see in that section of the report. The decision to request reimbursement of these costs was made at a sent-off domain management committee meeting in April, and then they subsequently sent it to me in September. And then we worked through to see which, how they were actually, what the costs were for, and which parts of it were internal versus external. So that's why it's not coming to you till now. It was quite complicated. And I also had a request whether we had reimbursement for requests like these retrospectively in the past. We haven't, not to my knowledge. Requests are usually made prior to invoices being sent.
So I'll open that item up for questions first. Questions of the report. Thank you, councillor O'Fee.
I was just given some information and that the total figure they originally asked for was and contacted the council over was $25,000 instead of the $13,900. And the geo report, the fire report, and the engineer's report was taken out of that of $12,300, and they were advised to apply for the consent, the planning, the building consent, and the printing consent, which was $13,900. And I was just wondering how there's such a big difference between the two figures of the 13,000 back to 5,400. They have raised, without any council money at this stage, 491,000. I said everybody should have a copy of just the pictures of it. It's almost completely finished in it, and there is no debt to it at this stage. I was just wondering if there was any way we could get those two figures closer together.
A couple of things with this, councillor. First of all, can we just record the a table document given by councillor O'Fee, labelled projects sent off domain, including the photos, record that as been present in the minute.
Just another quick for those councillors that don't know, the land is actually owned by the Crown, and it was originally given to the sent-off domain to use, and the lands and surveys were the agents for it, and then in 1988, the Rangitikei District Council became the agents for the land, so they managed the land for the sent-off domain committee.
Councillor, okay.
Do we have any understanding of why they didn't apply for this prior to being invoiced?
No, they didn't let me know. It was just in the minutes from the meeting that we refer to that they were going to ask council for the reimbursement of those costs. So I'm just checking because we get the minutes in a hard copy handwritten. I don't have a copy of it right with me, so I'm just seeing if we can get staff to have a look at it for an exact question about what exactly was asked for.
Any questions? Do you feel in a position to be able to proceed with this item? The chief executive, does this become a substantive piece of information you're waiting on?
I think it does. Like I say, I haven't got the minutes in front of me. I wonder if we just put this on hold until I can get a copy of that.
You can move on with the rest of the report and we'll come back
Thank
to
you.
it. Thank you.
The next matter is historical writing matter in Koitiata, and I'll just ask Mr. Poynton to come up to the table. This is one of many historical matters that comes to light every now and again, in particular when there's been a sale of a property. And it appears that things haven't been done absolutely correctly in the past, and then they get raised with us to sort out. So rather than keep leaving it hanging and not resolved, we would like to get this one resolved as we have with others in the past, where they're raised with us. So if there's any specific questions, Mr. Poynton can answer those.
Do you want to point any further out to us?
Thank you. No, it's self-explanatory in our chief's matter.
Councillor Wilson.
I'm happy to move recommendation 3, Your Worship, seeking a seconder.
Thank you. Councillor Hainsworth, you're prepared to second? Is that what you're raising? Councillor Hainsworth, are you seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Very, very quickly, Your Worship, I think our Chief Executive has clearly identified that this is just a historical matter that crops up from time to time. It's not the first time matters of this nature have come across the council table, and it's always best practice to deal with it as they present themselves and to take action to ensure it doesn't hinder further council in the future. So I'm happy that the wording is accurate to reflect the situation. Happy to move.
And is it actions or action? There's an option within.
Actions.
Yeah. Any other speakers? I'm taking then you don't need to write a reply to your own motion. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on.
Thank you. The next one is around
Thank you,
Kensington
Mr.
Road
Poynton.
and the proceeds of the sale of that property. It should be self-explanatory as well with what's covered in the report, and also the workshop item you had previously from Mr. Calkin, but happy to have any further questions if there are any, or clarification.
Take any questions around that report? This is using the sale of the money in a particular way. Looking for a motion. Councillor Wong.
I move balance of the 242,316.41 allocated to the,
So starting right from the top.
that council allocates $292,316.41, which is the proceeds from the sale of the land at Kensington Road to two special and restricted reserves as follows: $50,000 allocated to general purpose capital works to replace current funding for the netball court surface in accordance with resolution 25 RDC 304, and the balance of 242,536.41 allocated to aquatic special reserves for future funding towards the swimming pool project.
We're looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Buckendale seconding. Staff, are there any issues I need to?
No.
Anybody else wish to speak to it? Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Write a reply. Would you want to speak?
I just wanted to carry, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
it had been covered in workshop. It was capital funds that were released, and they've been put back for capital funds. So I feel that this is a good decision.
Thank you. Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I just ask that we leave the sent-off item and come back once I get a copy of those minutes?
Certainly. Item number 9, reports of decision 9.1, local water done well. These are the foundation documents for the Water Services Council controlled organisation known as Central Districts Water. And we welcome Evie Hitters to the table here. Chris Brysdale, sorry, slippers of tongue, and Brent Manning, Welcome, gentlemen, who wish to take us through this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Great to be here again. Really enjoyed coming to the Rangitikei. Spent all morning here. We had a staff stand up this morning, keeping the staff informed on progress. So this is a nice addition to that. So I'm hot off the heels of being at two other council meetings, one in Palmerston North yesterday morning, where the Palmerston North Council voted to approve. They've had essentially exactly the same paper and documents that you've got here today. So they've approved that. In the afternoon, I travelled to Levin, and the Horowhenua Council also approved the documents and all the resolutions as well. So I'm hoping for three for three. So just before we sort of just give a couple of comments I wanted to make. First of all, just wanted to acknowledge the journey that we've all been on together. Some of the new councillors a little bit more fast and furious than others that have been on the journey for several years. I think today marks an amazing milestone, you know, in all the things that we've done. Through from, you know, it being a twinkle in a politician's eyes, through to making decisions to create a joint through council, CCO, getting our water services delivery plan signed off, signing off a collaboration agreement, getting a name, Central Districts Water, and announcing that. So today's an important step because from here, we've got a couple of other really important things to do. Today today you will be voting on formation of a shareholder committee. That's a really important step because once we have that in place, the next step will be appointing members to it, and then once it's formed, that committee will be making some pretty important decisions about the future board of the water entity, which is a pretty critical next step. Once we have that board in place, we can really start making some decisions about the future shape of the organisation. Talking to some of the staff this morning, it was pretty obvious that some of them anyway are very anxious to know what their future looks like. And we were saying to them that until the board is appointed, we can't speak for the board, and they will need to make those decisions. So the sooner we can get on with this, the better. Anyway, so we came and saw you last week. I thought that was a good discussion. So what's moved since then? So not a lot. There is I'm not sure if it's the same clause numbers, hopefully it will be, but I know in the Palmerston North one, it's section 414(1). There's a piece in there around the dividends, and we spoke briefly about dividends. What we put in the paper sort of clarifies the situation in relation to where that landed a little bit. It just makes it really clear about, in the event that we decide we do want to pay dividends, we just made it really clear about that unanimous vote has to go and change that clause in the Constitution. With a unanimous vote, then you follow whatever you've put into the paper. So that's one change. You'll notice attachment 5, that I spoke to you about that last week, and that's the one that just sets out all of those various additions from the previous version of the paper to the one that you've got in there. So hopefully that's been really easy to follow in terms of all the various bits and pieces, and if anyone wants any clarification on that, we can go through it. That was all I wanted to say, really. I don't sort of take it as read, and I'm hoping it wasn't too many hours that you had to spend doing that. And happy to answer any questions, and hopefully between Brett and I, we can do that.
I'll take any questions around the reports first. While you're thinking of those, I'll just acknowledge the huge amount of work that's been put in by yourselves and Arno and our finance teams, in particular the Chief Executive. We may be dealing with this in a reasonably timely, hopefully timely manner, but thousands of hours of collective work has gone into this document. Questions, Councillor Dalgetty?
Thank you. Referring to page 60, item 3.13, which refers to the mixed rural water supplies in Rangitikei will not be transferred to Central District Water. And I thank you for including that. I'm just interested with our own staff about the process of that. We had a rural water scheme meeting on Monday and there was no mention of this. And I believe there's a lot to sort out in this space going forward, particularly with 300 Hunterville residents still using this scheme. And so I'm just asking, please, if our committee can be better informed in this process.
Just before I pass comment to staff, first of all, there has been, just to align the fears, there have been numerous conversations with all of our rural water schemes with regard to the legislation over local water done well. And they expressed the view absolutely that they wanted to be able to be distanced from new entities. We do not have to transfer those assets, but there is a process that will have to be gone through in terms of how they're recognised. Just to assure you, I was expecting further comment, was the chair of the Hunterville Rural Water Scheme sort of mentioned it at the start of the meeting and then didn't proceed with it. But have you got any comments or Brent?
You've probably got the background on that better than I do.
Well, thanks, Your Worship and councillors. The rural water supplies, including mixed-use rural water supplies, have, by your previous decision, aren't going to be transferred in terms of steps, but there is an opportunity to provide service through Central District's water at some point in the future. It's all going to hinge around those further decisions to be made. It's going to come down to effectively the relationship between Central District's water and that committee. Be largely rest on how they want to proceed. There is a reply that we've got from Mr. Hodder, who did also contribute to the report, and he has stated in here that clause 4 of the Local Government Water Services Act requires that transfer agreement to specify those matters not transferred or matters reserved, and that'll be one of those matters and yet to be determined in detail. The key point, I think, is that the council will still have some obligations around those assets, which will have to be resolved as part of the planning and establishment as we work through that with Central District's water. I'm hoping that answers the question and didn't confuse anyone.
And to some extent, it was covered in the water service delivery plan that we tabled and it was approved by government. So there is a lockdown process in there in itself as well.
Could I add, Your Worship, that I think through Chrissy, we've arranged that there will be a visit next year from, in the new year, at least from Tim Cadigan from Tūmara Arowai, who that will be one of the agenda items as well.
Does that answer you?
Yes.
Your concern?
Tim is very aware of our scheme. He came out and visited it on site.
Sorry, what was that?
Tim is very aware of our scheme. He came out and visited on site. Yeah.
Councillor Rakawa.
Question, in regards to the Constitution, 1219 clause B. Can you just give me clarity on what that means? It's on page 12
Of the
of
Constitution.
the Constitution. I just wanted clarity around the director may hold any other office and or place for profit in the company. You know what?
Yeah. Yeah, so that basically, so that does allow for the situation where you have a director who, let's say, is a sort of an expert who is going to provide some additional support to the organisation, but it really goes well above and beyond their role as a director. I've been on boards where this has happened before, and it normally, but it's always carefully documented, what have you, the scope of that work and what they're actually doing. But it's just really in a situation where, say, a director has got particular financial expertise, or in that case, it may be water expertise. It's providing some extra input.
Kia ora, thank you for that.
Any further questions? Councillor Wilson, are you wishing to move?
Seeking to move, your worship, yes.
Recommendation
Receipt of.
one, presumed.
Yeah, receipt of, yep.
This is receipt, the report, councillor Okawa seconded. Or is it a question, further question? Seconding, thank you. Wish to speak to it? Put it to the vote, those in favour, those against, carried, thank you. Recommendation two, this is approving the constitution. Would somebody like to so move? Councillor Wilson moving, councillor Sharlin seconding. Wish to speak to it?
Yes, I think on this one, I would, your worship, thank you for the opportunity. We have a number of recommendations in front of us there. I think it's quite important for everybody to understand. I know those sitting around the table here, but also those that are perhaps watching online or watching this at a later recorded date. None of these recommendations are in isolation in themselves to a significant amount of time. Years, in fact, that we've heard reference to thousands of hours that we've all put in to get to this point, and it shouldn't be taken that there hasn't been a significant amount of work already done. Whilst we come to this point here, it is a cumulative effect of a significant amount of work, and it will relate to every one of the recommendations that we're putting forward. And I think it's important to recognise the work that's gone on behind this to get us to this point. Whilst these decisions may look in the way they are written to be quite simplistic in their formation, the work that's gone on behind them, the level of understanding that has been required not only from councillors but from staff as well to how we get to this point is not simplistic at all. So that's all I'd like to know.
Thank you. Any further speakers? I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? Carried. We're still on 3 for 3 here. The next recommendation is with regard to the shareholders agreement. Would somebody like to so move?
I'm happy to move again, but I'd like other councillors
Kia
to.
ora, beat you to it.
Thank you.
Looking for a seconder to that. Thank you, councillor Beard seconding. Councillor Pikitoria Hira, would you wish to speak to it?
I'd just like to mirror what has been said before from councillor Wilson. The amount of work that has happened to get us to this point.
Councillor Wong, do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, please. I do support the motion, even though I've had a number of concerns raised from the public about this. Billy, and also from discussions with the other councils, how we have no direct influence directly over the executive board, but to a large extent, I believe that the details are in the statement of expectation and as a part of the process, and really is the devil's in detail. So whilst we are perhaps detached in some form or rather, which does worry some people, I think we are on the right track. So and I thank all the work that Chris and the whole group has done for this, including the amount of hours that our council and other councils have put into this.
Any other speakers? Councillor Wilson.
Speaking in for, if I may, this is probably one of the single most important parts of this whole scenario, in my opinion, from how do we as a body and how does our council have a voice up through to what will be to the board to take that further to the people on the ground doing the work. This is probably the one that I took the most interest in and went through in some detail. I'm very comfortable that this is the space, the shareholder agreement and the expectations will allow us to have our local voice go up for the benefit of our community. So this is the one that I think probably holds the most weight for us as a body and for the people of our district to ensure that our voice is heard. So I'm very comfortable with this one.
I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. The next one is the delegation of the chief executive around minor changes you wishing to move. Looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Sharlin seconding. Do you wish to speak to it?
I think it makes sense that the CE can do some minor changes if needed.
Any other speakers? Put it to the vote. Those in favour?
Mhm.
Those against? Carried. The next one, the council established the joint committee made up of representatives from across the shareholding councils and mana whenua partners, and endorses the term of reference included in Schedule 3 of the shareholders agreement. And I'm looking for someone to move. You can move, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Rakawa, you second it.
Yes.
Thank you, Josh. Speak for that.
Supports, it supports the earlier recommendation, Your Worship, so I'm happy with that.
Any other speakers? I'll speak to this. I support the recommendation absolutely and support the general theme of all of these recommendations. There's been interesting discussions around the makeup and the number of people on shareholders agreements and so on. But I think we've landed in a very safe space. Any other speakers? Put it to vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Recommendation 6. Sorry, do you want to say anything further? We're looking at me and saying
No.
recommendation 6.
It's like, you go.
The Judiciary Council notes is the next step in establishing the Central District Water as a joint water services controlled organisation that will be required to appoint its representatives to the Shareholders Committee and delegate the power to make the decisions recorded in section 2 of the Schedule 3. Would somebody like to move? Thank you. Councillor Beard moving, Councillor Wilson seconding. You wish to speak to it?
No, it's pretty self-evident.
Any speakers to it? Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Saying all that, recommendation 7 should be fairly straightforward. Of the delegating to the Chief Executive to proceed with incorporation and registration of Central District Water with the company's office. Looking to Councillor Buckendale, you were moving. Councillor Sharland, you seconded. Councillor Buckendale, do you wish to speak to that? Any speakers or questions?
Can I ask you a question, please? It's implying that to the chief executive of what? That's to Arno. To the chief executive of.
Our council to proceed.
Right, okay. I'm just surprised that it's only you that falls to. I would have thought that would have been some kind of joint effort on the parts of the 3 chief executives.
Well, effectively it will be.
Every
Yeah.
council will have
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to clarify, in the earlier version, we did have all 3, but then technically you can't delegate to the chief executive another.
Chief
one.
executives.
Yeah.
Right.
Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? We're still 3 for 3, aren't
We are 3 for 3. Thank you, everyone. My job here is done, I think.
Thank you. Well, not yet. Moving to the adoption of the meeting schedule, I'll come back to that one. We received the report around the adoption of the meeting schedule 2026. There's been some council workshops around this. And the recommendation to receive the report, I'll move. Councillor McCullough seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. And recommendation 2, that council adopts the meeting schedule 2026 with or without amendment, and some extra words around that.
Yes, Your Worship. If you could adopt it with amendment, I've got 3 amendments that I'd like you to make. The first amendment is a move of the Assets Infrastructure Finance Performance meeting to the 2nd of April. It's currently scheduled for the end of March. There's a Zone 3 meeting that's come through for those dates. There's an additional council meeting to adopt the annual plan consultation document. And that is proposed to be on Wednesday, the 25th of February. And then The third proposed change is to change the starting time for your council meetings to 10 a.m. It's currently in the draft meeting schedule as 9:30 a.m.
So these issues have been covered in the workshop. I'm happy to move on the basis that council adopts the meeting schedule with the amendments. And note that there may be subsequent changes dictated by circumstance. Looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Rakawa, are you seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. And speaking to it, we literally, the speed of change that's in front of us with the government, the changes in circumstances can be quite substantial. And there may well be a need for extra meetings to be added to schedules, etc., or issues to be dealt with under urgency. There may also be in the future some tender positions that all the council would want to fit in with other timeframes. So with the apology around the demands on your time, councillors, that's why I've asked this to include some changes. Any other speakers? Councillor Locke.
I'd just like to acknowledge the staff work that's been put into this, taking into consideration councillors' time and also the commitments that we need to do. I don't think we all realise exactly how much thought was put into this. That was just put. Thank you.
Jeff?
Okay. Thank you. Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Moving back to in the order paper with regard to funding Santok Domain. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we have received clarification. So the request that came in to me is definitely for those 4 amounts, and I've got a copy here. The councillor may be referring to another application that was put into another avenue, not to me. And that's all I really can say about that one. So those costs.
Another avenue meaning a separate trust.
Yes.
Oh,
So the amounts that you've got in front of me is exactly the request, and I've got this put as a table document, is exactly the amounts that were asked from the Santok Domain Management Committee dated 16th September.
So can you, councillor Fee, do you wish to not write a reply, but to raise any other matters?
I mean, if that's what.
Yeah, so your understanding of that position.
Yeah, do.
Councillor Dalgety.
Question to the CE, please. Are you concerned setting a dangerous precedent by acknowledging that, you know, paid invoices are being reimbursed, can be reimbursed?
I suppose my answer to that is the request was sent in directly to me, and I opposed to put it to council rather than make a decision myself. For maybe the reason that you're actually mentioning.
Would you have been able, supplements to that, would you have been able to make it under delegation?
Yes.
So that illustrates the sensitivity of the nature of the matter. Any other question?
I just clarify or seek clarification through the chair. And I believe Councillor O'Fee's question was, why was the $15,000 that's that some of these 4 amounts reduced down to the 5,426? And the answer being, or the way I see it, is that these are external costs, which is not council. And so that's why the council is not waiving it, because it's cost that councils had to pay externally. Is that the understanding that the councillor has?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the policy of application was only for internal costs, so it was reduced to match that. Before somebody puts a figure on the board, I would just like to make a general comment as to where council currently sits in term and government sits. The difficulty will be we have a huge number of community groups doing amazing things. And they're doing things for the benefit of our wider community. And they're getting involved in projects to drive communities forward. And I absolutely applaud them. However, we have communities that are under financial pressure. And we also have government suggesting that a time frame for us to be at a rate increase level pegging of between 2 and 4%, and referring to us that it should happen. These are costs at your discretion, councillors, and I urge you to consider that. Any questions before somebody puts a motion on the table?
Sorry, just a better understanding of how the committee works. Do people pay to use the facilities? How do they gain their income?
So it's on reserve. They had historically and still continue to have an income associated with the lease of the
Grazing.
grazing of the land.
Yeah.
And have applied obviously, and congratulate them. They've raised significant money. Councillor,
And another funds were from the harvesting of the trees off the property as well.
yeah. Yeah, those were pretty much one-off. Councillor Hero.
My question is back to the CEO. In regards to an issue coming to the table, you made a decision to bring it to the around this table instead of, but you had the ability to make a decision yourself. Sorry, I may not have heard this properly, but your decision making around bringing it to the table was.
I think I'll make a couple of comments. I've been out there and seen this facility, and it is absolutely fantastic. And I do admire the group, same as everyone else. Part of my role is to lessen the impact across ratepayers. And given the direction that we've had recently from central government about looking at costs, I'm really aware that the revenue that council has anticipated to receive, especially in this financial year, is not going to be met. And there have been a number of times where we have granted waivers and wiped fees, that sort of thing. And so I think there's a time that we have to say, well, is this the way that you want to continue to do this? And we have brought you some of those amounts in the past in a spreadsheet to show that there's a significant amount being waived for traffic management plans and other things. So I think it's just impotent on me to sort of bring this in front of you and say, do you want me to continue, or, you know, what's your view on this one?
Further question?
So in saying that, do you see that this is going to be, that you will be making, that we could well see a lot more of this coming around the council table?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just, do you have a
Thank you,
support of time?
Just a bit of unsolicited advice. May I just remind members that the Local Government Act delegation to chief executives in particular is a clear statement that the delegatee is not obligated to exercise that delegation. There is always an open door to bring these things upstairs to the members.
Okay, I'm looking for somebody to put a motion on the table. Councillor Wilson, are you wishing to move?
I'm going to move that we support this motion to the $5,426.54 as is noted in the order paper.
Looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Okawa, seconding it.
I'm going to second it.
Wish to speak to it?
Yes, there's several parts to this. First of all, thank you to the Chief Executive for bringing this to us, and thank you for also raising the level of difficulty that we as a council are going to face to try and get to what is being driven towards a 4% rate cap, because this is a clear example of exactly some of the tough decisions we're going to have to make. Two things, I think, or several things here within this recommendation, the reference to retrospective and Councillor Dalgetty's question about whether or not that was caused any concerns. These matters have been addressed before as a retrospective payment, and so there's not a precedent being set. It has been done before. The second part of this is actually still a council-controlled, owned, reserved piece of land. So it's not, doesn't belong to an external party. Ultimately, the council is the net benefactor to this. You'll see in the recommendation that the council agrees to the amount would be credited to their account that is held by council. So it is true that it is an actual loss of revenue to the ratepayers. There's no doubt about that. But I believe that there are some slightly extenuating circumstances that why I think we should proceed with this motion, given some of the information that's come to us from Councillor O'Fee and the amount of money that has been raised. So I think this is a little bit of a tricky one, but it does highlight some of the complexities and difficulties we're going to have to face. This particular one is our property on our reserve, owned by us. And I thank the team down there at the Centre of Domain for the level of work that they've done and the fundraising that they've already managed to pull together.
Take next speaker, Councillor O'Fee.
It's not actually owned by the council, it's Crown Land. The council are the agents for the property, and so it will still not, the property one, the project once finished will not be owned by the council.
Councillor O'Fee.
Vested.
Mr. Taunton, do you wish to make a
Thank you,
correction?
Your Worship. This is actually an item that I am looking at possibly workshopping with members in the future. The land is Crown Land reserved from sale. It is vested in county, now RDC. Vesting is a form of ownership, in more common terms, a trust. There is a trust deed, in this case is the Reserves Act, and everything done on Sandtop and every other recreation reserve in the district must comply with the Reserves Act. Full stop, end story, and council will be audited if the Auditor General so chooses.
Change your expression.
No, it's exactly the same ownership vested, and perhaps I should have used the word vested in the Rangitikei District Council rather than the ownership of the Rangitikei District Council, but I don't think it changes the intent of the motion that I've moved.
Thank you. The reason I stopped you is because that just needed a correction as to where this legally sat. Any other speakers? So the motion is still there. It still has a seconder. Take the speakers to the motion. Councillor Okawa.
Well, I agree with what Councillor Wilson said. Well, actually, I was going to say council led, but vested. And I support what this recommendation is for the Centre of the Domain.
Okay, two speakers for. Councillor.
I've got a question. So the understanding of, not the interpretation of what it is, but what's just been said to us in regards to the ownership of that whenua and who owns it, whether it's Crown or whether it's a council asset, or where it's vested into council. Can somebody just explain to me, will that make a difference into how the operating committee at Sandtop look at this? Because I'm just taking into consideration what you've said, Councillor O'Fee, and your understanding of who actually owns the space, who's actually responsible for it. So I'm just trying to get it on my own head right.
I'll let you answer the question.
It is the belief of the senior committee members of that it is still Crown-owned land, and that the council is only the agent for the Crown. So they have misunderstood understood or we've misunderstood one way or the other. I'm not sure, but the information I was given was that in 1968, the Crown gave the land to the Sandhoff Domain Board, and at that stage, the lands survey agents were lands and surveys were the agent till 1989, and then in 1989, the agency was transferred to the.
Sorry, are you questioning the validity?
No. I'm just saying the information that I received from the Sandhoff Committee of their belief. Not,
Yeah.
no, I'm not.
I think, councillor, I have to rely on the legal expertise that's been given to us that have studied this issue.
Please just allow me to clarify that agency is a misnomer. The Crown land reserved from sale is vested in council. Council is the nominal owner as trustee investee on behalf of the Crown. Everything that comes to and from the reserve should be in the name of the council. There was never any agency involved. It was always a formal appointment of, a formal vesting, firstly in the Domain Board with the 1977 Reserves Act, sorry to annoy you, the Domain Boards went out of existence, and soon after in 1989, the Local Government Reorganisation Order vested all of the domains in our district in the new Ragatiki District Council. So agency is absolutely not part of this discussion.
It is a very technical matter, and it is complicated, and my chief executive has just dropped a note to say it is really complicated, and I knew that to be the case.
I think Mr. Poynton said we were going to have a workshop, which is, we prefer to do that.
I don't think that alters the tenure of the discussion today. And so I'm still looking for speakers. Take a question, certainly.
Are rates charged on this?
Answer to that.
They should not be. Recreation Reserve in terms of the Local Government Rating Act is exempt.
I will move an amendment, and I'll move the amendment to alter the sum from $5,426.54 to $2,500. And if I have a second, I'll speak first. Why? You wishing second?
No.
Thank you. The reason for changing, and it's not a change to the intent to reimburse, so I can take it as an amendment. The $5,426.54, according to the report, is the maximum that you could reimburse. We are in an environment where we have to be incredibly cautious around where our costs lie, and we need to toughen up. And to be honest, the toughening out process won't go down well, but it has to start. And they have had a history of being able to raise money, and they have a guaranteed income associated with it. The project I absolutely support and admire, and will do anything that I personally can do to support. But we are in a new environment here. So, any other speakers to the amendment?
I certainly don't believe at all that this will be in any good faith whatsoever. I can see this starting up an absolute hornet's nest by suddenly halving the money factor again. I've raised all this money, and my slight lack of backing for them 100% was the fact that the council didn't own the land. Well, I was wrong then, so I even believe even more so now that it's a major mistake.
Any other speakers? Right of reply. I have worked on this committee.
standing orders is the right reply goes to the mover of the substantive, the unamended motion.
Yeah,
Sorry.
point taken. Do you wish to reply?
We need to do that amendment before he would get his
Yeah.
replies.
Yeah. The amendment hasn't been put. The question is understanding orders, do I have a right to speak, right of reply to speak to the amendment? The answer is no. I'll put it straight to the vote. Those in favour of the amendment reducing the figure to $2,500, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, can you keep your hands up? The amendment's carried. Goes back to the substantive. Thank you. Thank you, councillor Wong. Do you wish any other speakers? No. Do you wish to write a reply? With the vote, those in favour to the amended substantive motion, those in favour?
Substantive this one.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
My vote recorded against that motion.
Sydney can. Recommendation 3, we've done, so does that reach the end?
We
So,
need to go into public.
yeah. Would somebody like to move, we go into public excluded? Move.
Happy second.
Seconded. I think councillor Holmes had his hand up first. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried.